Alright, so here we are with a very simple network. We have two routers and then two clients on both ends of the routers. We have three networks here: the 192.168.0.1, 10.0.0.0, and then 192.168.1.0. At the end of the day, we want to make it possible for clients, or for the client on the 192.168.1.0/24 network to be able to communicate with the clients on 192.168.0.1 network. Now, as you can see, I have some text in red and then some text in green. The text in red refers to the various networks that we have, and then the text in green refers to the specific interface IP addresses for the various devices. Alright, so first we'll start with client 1. Let's assign an IP address to client 1. Right, so let's go to settings on client 1. And so we're going to assign it 192.168.0.10 with a default gateway of 192.168.0.1. Sorry, that should be supposed to be a subnet mask, so subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Of course, as we can see here, we have the subnet mask for this network being /24, which is 255.255.255.0, a class C subnet mask. And then for the default gateway, we're going to be 192.168.0.1. Always remember, the default gateway is the interface on the router that faces the LAN where the client is located, and the client is supposed to use that to reach outside the network. In our cases, like for us work with internet connections at home, you would have that so you can access your Facebook, you can access your Google, etc. etc. If you should get rid of that, it will become very difficult for you, or it will become impossible for you to go outside your network. So that's what the default gateway is for. Now let's give this a host name of, say, let's say Eddie. Right. And then apply. Okay, so we are done with client 1. Let's go to client 2. I'll call client 2, let's name it Ubinim. And then let's assign the IP we have here. So we are going to assign 192.168.1.10 to this host. So 192.168.1.10 with a subnet mask also /24. So we're going to have 255.255.255.0, and then we have 192.168.1.1 as a default gateway. As we can see, that's what we're going to assign to the interface that is facing the LAN where this client is located. Then we apply that. So that is it for client 2. Okay. Now let's go on to our Huawei router. This is the Huawei AR1220 router. Let's go on to the command line. Okay, so for us to be able to configure this router, we have to escalate our privileges, and we do that using the command system view. You see the prompt has actually changed, right? At this particular level of the prompt, you can make certain system changes, right? Or you can make all system changes on this command prompt. Alright. Now, to view the various interfaces that are available on this particular router AR1, you say display IP interface brief, and as you can see, we have two interfaces available: gigabit Ethernet 0/0/0, and then gigabit interface 0/0/1. So we are going to assign IP addresses to these interfaces. But before you can assign an IP address to an interface, you have to select the interface. So say interface gigabit 0/0/0, and we have selected that interface. So now we can go ahead and assign an IP address. So that is the IP address that we have here, 192.168.0 So say IP address 192.168.0.1, and the subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Okay, so now we have assigned that IP address. As you can see, the interface has changed state towards to app, right? Initially. Okay, now let's quit from this interface. Now select interface gigabit ethernet 0/0/1 and assign an IP address to it. So interface gigabit ethernet 0/0/1, say IP address 10.0.0.1 255.255.255.0. Right, now let's quit from this interface as well. Then display IP interface brief. As you can see, the interfaces are both up, both physically and at the data link layer as well. And also we have the IP addresses that we assigned to them showing up here, right? Okay, now let's go to router AR2 as well, and let's configure that. Alright, so let's escalate our privilege, right? Display IP interface brief, and yes, over here too we have two interfaces as well, gigabit and 0/0/0 and 0/0/1. So let's select gigabit 0/0/0. Let's assign it an IP address. Let's exit the interface. Oh, sorry, let's quit. I got confused with Cisco. Then let's go on to interface gigabit 0/0/1. The IP address the 192.168.1.1 as 255.255. Right, now let's quit from this interface and then display IP interface brief, and of course we are also up. Now the next thing to do is to think or check connectivity, basic connectivity from client 1. So from client 1, we are going to do is to try and ping from client 1 to SD4 gateway and then see if that's going to work. So ping 192.168.0.1, and it's able to ping its default gateway, right? But beyond that, beyond this network, it becomes very impossible for it to go in and get anywhere. So let's try and ping this interface 10.0.0.2, and of course the request times out because we have no routing happening right now. So we are going to configure some routing on the various routers, on the two routers, to make it possible for communication to take place. So let's go on to router AR1 and let's display its routing table. So we say display, let's escalate, okay, we already escalated, display IP routing table, right? And as we can see, it only knows about the 10.0.0 network, right? Let me expand this so you can see properly. It only knows of this particular network, right? These ones are directly connected, so 0.1, which is the interface that is facing our LAN, right? Going to client 1, all right? So what we have to do is to add the routes to the other network. Now, a router cannot reach a network if it doesn't know about a network. So we're supposed to tell it about it. And there are two ways we can do that. Either to manually configure that using what we call static routes, or you use routing protocols. In our case, we want to use static routes because we have a very small network. All right, and it knows about the 10.0.0/24 network as well, because it is directly connected to it. So to add a route to this router, we say IP route static, and which network we want to tell it. We want to tell it about the 192.168.1.0 network because it doesn't know about that. So we say 192.168.1.0, that's our destination network. 255.255.255.0. The next thing to add will be the next hop. So we are going to tell this router that for you to be able to reach the 192.168.1.0 network, you're supposed to reach this particular next hop router, which has the IP address 10.0.0.2. So we say 10.0.0.2. Enter, and it accepts it. So let's display IP routing table once again, and as you can see, we have the 192.168.1.0/24 network now in here, and it is static. It's a static route. All right, because we entered that ourselves. Now let's go on to this router as well, router AR2, and let's display its routing table. And as you can see, it also knows about the 10.0.0/24 network, right? And it knows about the 192.168.1.0 network, and it's because they're directly connected, right? But it doesn't know about the 192.168.0.10 network or 192.168.0.0 network. It doesn't know about that. Oh, I made an error. Let me correct that. Okay. The 0.0 network, it doesn't know about it, so we are supposed to tell it about it. And what we will do that by entering an IP address or entering a route statically onto the routing table. So we say IP route, the destination is 192.168.0.0, 255.255.255.0, and then for you to be able to do that, it has to come to the next hop router, which is 10.0.0.1. So we say display IP routing table. Now you can see that the 192.168.0.0 network has been added, which is static. Okay. So now let's see if this client will be able to go beyond its network to reach any other thing. Client 1. So now let's ping 10.0.2 and we are getting replies, right? Now let's ping 192.168.1.10, which is the IP address of client 2 on the other end of the network, and we see we are able to reach that one as well. So that is it for basic routing on Huawei routers. My name is Kumi-Larbi. Thanks for watching.